Hey everybody, welcome to Harmon Garage. I'm Aaron, and today is a Rumrunner day. If you've been following the channel for a while, you know what that means. And if you're new to the channel, I'll explain it to you right now. This is Rumrunner, my 1991 Chevy 1500. If you go back through the old videos, I lowered it and I got the front complete and never finished lowering the back, so I still have to do that. It's got a 355 4-bolt main, a small block Chevy, obviously with a carburetor. This truck originally came with a throttle body injected 4.3. It still has the 5-speed NV3500 in it, which is gonna stay in it. And this is a personal truck, it's not a customer project or anything. And I have a timeline. I've been working on it for, I don't know, a year here and there when I had time. But now it has a timeline, it's got a deadline. You guys have heard me talk about the truck gathering. It's a big show that I'm sponsoring in April in Norman, Oklahoma. If you're interested in going or checking the show out, www.thetruckgathering.com. But I'm sponsoring the show, I'm going to the show, so I need something to take to the show. And this is kind of my cool, I want it to be my daily driver, but be nice and clean and original at the same time. So this is what I want to get done to take to that show. So I'm gonna buckle down and I'm gonna do it. I'm still working on everything else at the same time, but until it gets closer to the show, I'm just gonna take a day here, 2 days there, and do what I can do to get going on it. When I've posted videos of this truck in the past, I've had people ask me about how I'm gonna wire it, because, you know, putting a carbureted 350 in it, taking out the throttle body injection, I can get rid of the computer, I can get rid of a lot of the wiring and all that kind of stuff. And I know some of you out there are interested in doing the similar thing and you're curious on how to wire it. Well, I'm not saying that this is the only way to do it, but for me, I'm building a complete custom wiring harness, one-off for this truck, making it all myself. I have some of the parts here. I have some stuff ordered that's supposed to be here tomorrow, but I figure I can go ahead and get started on it. And then when the last piece that I need as of right now comes in tomorrow, then I'll be able to keep moving on. But this probably isn't gonna be a 1 day, 2 day, 1 video type job. It's gonna take quite a bit of work to wire this thing. Not running an electric fuel pump, so I don't have to worry about that. But as far as the wipers go, they are, you know, they got the whole go faster, go slower, small or low, medium, high, super fast, all that stuff. And I believe that all went through the computer. So I'm gonna see if I can use this original wiper motor here and make it work. I'm gonna have to get a pinout diagram on it, see where it gets power, where it gets ground, how the switch works, yada yada yada. If it doesn't seem feasible, I'm gonna see if I can graft like a square body wiper motor into this truck, because that's just constant power all the time with 2 grounds for your low and your high. So if I wire in this motor that's already in here, it's gonna be the same way. It's only gonna have a low and a high. I drive square bodies every day and I've never needed more than that to drive down the road, so that'll be plenty good for this truck. Got a radiator with a shroud and dual electric fans. I'm gonna have to wire all that in. I gotta wire the motor in, and I gotta wire my gauge cluster that I made in. If you guys haven't seen that yet, it's a little dirty right now, but there it is. So headlights, parking lights, turn signals, brake lights, starter, motor, speedometer. It's a lot of stuff I gotta wire. What I want to do to get started is, first I'm going to mount the radiator, make some mounts for the radiator, because I want to know exactly where it's sitting, because I'm going to go ahead and put my relay bank and stuff like that for the electric fans up here by the radiator, and I want to make sure the radiator is in its forever spot before I mount those. I'm going to run some relays for headlights, and I'm going to put a relay bank in there with 4 or 5 relays to run the fans and the headlights and stuff like that. That way I can run constant power through the relays, and I'm not running the power through the switch panel that I'm about to show you guys and put in. So I'm going to get started on building the brackets for the radiator. I'll take you guys along for the ride and show you how we do it. Well, I had every intention of filming the thought process behind making the radiator mount and filming it to show you guys how I did it. And then I started looking into it to see what I was going to do, and if you've been watching the videos for a while, you know I see squirrels and chase them, and yeah, that's kind of what happened again. I started looking into what I was doing, and I was like, oh, well, let me try this, and next thing you know, radiator's mounted, and I went, oh, hey. So, radiator's mounted. It's made 2 little tabs here. I got a rubber bushing underneath this tab so that it can wiggle a little bit without breaking anything. It's all mounted in, nice and solid. Got my hoses on, still need clamps, but that'll come later. So now I know where my radiator is going to be, and I have two relays for sure that I need to run, possibly 3. So I'm going to put in all 3 of them, and if I end up not needing one, I can always take it back out. But I just want to make sure that I have the space for all 3. So I think what I'm going to do is take the grill back out. No, I don't know. I don't want to impede with the back of the headlight or the parking light when this is bolted in, and there's not a lot of room over here next to it to put them there. I thought maybe I could hide them, and that would be good, but I don't really have room to stack 3 next to each other down here on the sides. So I think what I'm gonna do is I'm not gonna have a washer fluid tank back in here, because I've been driving vehicles that the windshield washer function didn't work on for a long time. It's never seemed to bother me, so I can get by without washers. The windshield gets too dirty, you go out there and wipe it off. So I'm gonna take these, I got my relays here, and I'm just gonna go ahead and neatly mount them right here, side by side, and then they'll be out of the way. My headlight wiring is gonna run along there anyway, so I can put everything in the same harness. It'll look nice and clean, and that's kind of what I'm going for. So I'm gonna go ahead and slap these relays in, and then I'm going to pull out the switch panel that I'm going to be putting in the truck to run everything, and showing that to you guys. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm just going to self-tapper these to the inner fender there, or to the inside of the fender, so it'll be quick and easy. I'll just get those pinned up there, and then I'll show you guys the switch panel we're going to wire in. Okay, I know it's not a big feat, but I got my relays mounted. So they're in there, ready to go. Now I'm going to show you the fuse box, brain, whatever you want to consider it, of the wiring harness and how I'm going to do this. So the awesome people at Auxbeam Lighting reached out to me again and asked me if there was any way they could help me out. And I started looking through what they offer, and I was like, yeah, I could use one of these. So they sent it to me, and I picked it because I planned on using it for this truck. So I'm gonna go ahead and show you guys what it is. It's a multi-function switch panel. And you may be thinking, what do you need a switch panel for? Well, it's not just a switch panel. It's a whole ordeal. So I'll kind of go through this the best I can with one hand, but it comes with a resettable 60 amp circuit breaker. You got your switch panel itself. Excuse me. Mounting stuff. And then there's this. This is, whoa, that could have been bad. Good thing I caught it with my feet. Alright, sorry if the video right here is kind of clunky, but I'm trying to do this one-handed. Alright, got that done. So, here it is. We have basically a fuse box, but it's got a circuit board in it. So the switch panel's just got this one connector, runs down, and I kind of briefly went through the instructions, but I'm not 100% sure about everything yet. But it comes with the mounting brackets for the fuse box. It comes with the mounting bracket for the switch panel itself. And then we've got connectors, power, all this good stuff. So the purpose of this is it's basically a fuse box, but you put your 12 volt positive in here, you put a good ground here, and then that completes all these circuits. So then you hook up your power and your ground for each accessory that you're putting on there, and everything is controlled off of this. It's a fuse circuit. It's got 5 amp outputs, 10 amp outputs, 20 amp load. They're not necessarily outputs, but 5 amp, 10 amp, 20 amp, 30 amp loads that you can carry on it. Everything plugs into this. You got your fuse panel. So I'm gonna wire everything on this truck through this panel. Starter, headlights, parking lights, horn. I'm gonna wire the electric fans in so they come on with a thermostat switch, but I'm gonna have an override also, because I'm only gonna wire one of the fans in on the thermostat, and then if my temperature gets too high and I need to cool it better, I'll have the second fan on an override switch that I can manually turn it on. So I might put both fans on the manual switch. I haven't decided yet, but everything that I'm wiring on this truck is going to go through this fuse box and work with this switch panel. Comes with decals to put on your switches here, so you can label what you want. You got just about anything: start, stop, engine, fan, auxiliary. I mean, just pretty much anything you want. You can program this so that it's momentary or on off. Comes with a nice instruction manual that tells you how to go through everything, and it comes with a cool sticker. So I want to thank Auxbeam Lighting for sending this to me. They gave me a link to go and get 15% off their products from watching this video, and I'm gonna put that link in the description below. And I'm gonna go over this switch panel a lot better as I install it and I learn more about it. Like I said, I don't know. I read through the instructions so I could kind of tell you guys about it, but I don't know the whole gist of it yet. I need to do a little bit more research, and as I put it in this video, I'll explain it to you more. But I think it's going to be a really cool setup. I'm gonna mount it in the dash where the original head unit radio was, because it's got the, I don't normally have radios in my vehicles, but if I do put a radio in this, I'll have like a aftermarket single DIN over to the side where you can get the adapter plates to put those in. But thanks again to Auxbeam. Check out the link in the description, and we're gonna get started wiring this truck. All right, well, when you're doing custom work like this, all things are subject to change, and I changed my mind. I started looking, I'll show you guys a little bit more about this fuse box. I dug further into the box, and it comes with the battery cable that goes from the battery to the circuit breaker, and then from the circuit breaker to the control box. Comes with the grounds. Here's your cable that plugs into the control box and goes out to your keypad. And there's all the mounting brackets in here. You can mount it flush like this, or it's got this angle bracket so you can mount it either this way or this way. And I read up on it a little bit more, and it is, with the lid on it, it is completely waterproof, and it's okay to put it under the hood. So I was going to try to find a spot under the dash to mount it, but the more research I did on it, I realized that it'd be a lot easier to put it out under the hood, close to the battery. I don't have to run as many wires as far, and it'll make everything a lot easier. So since I decided to do that, I'm gonna put that control box, battery goes here, I'm gonna put that control box right here, right out of the way of the battery. Now, it doesn't make any sense for me to run the wires from the control box all the way around over to those relays and then back up to the headlights and the fans. So the relays that I mounted over there yesterday afternoon, I'm gonna take back off and put them over here next to the battery. Then I can get my battery power and my relays and my everything right here. I'll only have to run wires up here and across for the headlights, right over here for the fans, which that'll all be in the harness together. I'll probably bring the wires for the fans down underneath the radiator and come back up to kind of try to hide them some. And then all my wires that need to go inside the truck, I can bring down right along here, bring over here, and then I just gotta get a hole in the firewall to put, I got a bulkhead pin connector that's I'm waiting on to come in today. That's the last piece I've been waiting for to wire this thing, because I need to know where I'm gonna have it and all that to start running wires. But with that being said, this truck's not gonna have AC. This truck will never have AC. I don't have AC in anything that I drive. I roll the windows down and enjoy life. So since it's not gonna have AC, there's no need for my AC condenser or evaporator. So since all my stuff is gonna be right here and I need to get wires in there, I got this hole already here where the line for the evaporator came through. So I can put my bulkhead fitting right there and run my wires through my bulkhead connector and inside where I need them. My two heater core lines come out this oval down here, so that's not gonna hurt anything, and I'm gonna patch the bottom hole for the other side of the evaporator. So, downward spiral. I started looking from the inside to see where I could drill a hole to put my bulkhead connector, and that led to not needing the evaporator core, and that led to needing to get the evaporator core out, and that led to looking to see what it was going to take to get it out. And the next thing you know, HVAC box is completely out of the truck, dismantled in about 8 pieces on the floor. Evaporator core's over in the scrap metal pile. And yeah, I got another hour in the truck and I still haven't started wiring anything. But I might lie to you again. We're gonna start the wiring right now. Okay, so like I said, I'm gonna take our control box here and mount it over here on this inner fender. And I know my battery comes to right here, so it needs to be behind that. So I'm gonna come right about here. It'll be underneath the hood, nothing will be in the way. And I'm gonna looks pretty level, I think. I'm gonna mark my holes, and then I'll go get a drill. I'll drill some holes in there, put some rib nuts in, bolt this bracket to the fender. Then I'll be able to bolt my control panel to the bracket. And then once this is mounted in here like this, all my connections are right here. Now, I'm going to have to run the connections off the battery, come in to the opposite side, because the latch on the lid on this thing is on the front. So if I spin it around so I can come straight to my battery connections, I'm not going to be able to get the lid off of it, which doesn't do me any good, and my electrical connectors and everything are easier to get to out here. So it's going to have wires coming out here, but I'll be able to route them back to the inner fender, run them where I need to. It'll look fine. I'm going to stop babbling. I'm going to go get a drill and drill bits, and I'm going to put some holes in there. Alright, as you saw, I got my holes marked. I went and stood over on the driver's side of the truck, looked over, and used my calibrated eyeball to make sure it was level. And I'm not going to say it's level, but it's close enough. So I'm just going to drill these holes. Got our holes drilled. I'm going to go get some rib nuts, put them in there, and we'll be able to mount our bracket. Alright, I got my rib nut tool out. I already got my rib nut put on it. Put it in there. Alright. That's in there good and tight. Do the same thing with our other one. That one's good and tight. Alright, I'll get our bracket and some, I use 1/4-20 rib nuts because I have them, and that's plenty to hold that little computer up, or controller, whatever it is. So I'm going to go ahead and get some 1/4 bolts, get our bracket, we'll get it mounted up there, and then we'll get our controller mounted to it. Alright, I got my bracket, found some bolts and hardware. Get those in there. Get that all lined up. Nice and sturdy. Moves a little bit, but that's the whole inner fender moving. So I don't think it's going to be an issue. It doesn't move much. If it does, I'll put another bracket on the back side that goes all the way across both bolts, and that'll stiffen it up. But I don't think I'm going to need to. I think that's plenty rigid. So. Yeah, that'll be fine. So I'm going to get the control unit, and it came with a bag full of hardware to mount everything. I'll get that. We'll go ahead and get that mounted, and then we'll decide where we're going to mount our circuit breaker, and then we'll take those relays off of that fender and find somewhere to put them over here, and then keep on keeping on. We got a lot of this and that we have to do before we can actually start running wires. So I'd rather have everything laid out, know where it's going to be, ready to hook up, and then I just got to run wires from point A to point B. So we're going to get that control unit put in and yada 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 like I said, and then we'll just keep on going until we get where we need to be. Okay, I got my control box here. I double checked on the instructions. It doesn't say anything about needing to put rubber isolators or anything underneath this. And this is like a sticky rubber substance inside, so I'm guessing everything in here is encapsulated. Another thing I didn't mention, in between the fuses and your wire terminals here, I don't know how well you guys can see, but there's little LED lights right there on each circuit. So if this fuse is blown, that light will shine red, and you'll know you got a blown fuse without having to pull the fuses and check them. So that's a nice added feature that comes with it, and be handy, especially if it's dark outside and you're got something that quits working, you're trying to figure out why. Look in there, see the red light, know you got a blown fuse, and move on. Inside the little lid that this came with, it actually has a spot with a little fuse puller tool, and it's got some spare fuses in it, so that's handy. Just putting this on here with the hardware that was provided in the kit. There's 3 different holes you can mount it in here. Because I'm up against the fender with the bracket this way, I put it in the center one. That gives me some room over here where I can get the lid on before it snaps down. So alright, got those good and tight. Now for the circuit breaker here, pretty sure I already showed you guys this, but it's a resettable circuit breaker with a cover on it. A really good cover on it because I can't get it off. If it trips, it pops up. Just push it down, it resets. Got two mounting holes, got your power in, power out. So I've decided, since I got my battery right here and my controls here, and I got to send battery power from here to here through this, my best bet is to mount it, find a fairly flat spot. That's pretty flat right there. So I'll mount it right there. I'll bring power off my battery into this side. I'll bring my other power off of this side, come up through here, boom, hook it up. No big deal. So I thought about just running self-tappers in this, but I don't want the self-tapper sticking down in the wheel well because it's lowered, and I don't want to take chances of the suspension letting the tire come up and hit it. And I don't want to take chances of the self-tapper coming loose on this thing. So I'm going to mark it, drill some holes, and we'll run some short bolts through there. I might even run the bolts so that the heads are down inside the fender, and the rest of the bolt comes up with the nut on the top. So I already explained to you how I'm going to do it, so I don't need to film that. I'm just going to get that mounted, and then I'm going to go and check and see if FedEx or UPS has showed up with my bulkhead connector, and we'll move those relays over, get that part done, and I think other than that we can actually start running some wires. I'm going to sit down and kind of make up a diagram of what I'm going to run where, what I'm going to hook up to what circuit, all that jazz. And then we can start running wires and hooking stuff up. Alright, here's where things get technical. So first things first, I got my circuit breaker mounted. I got my relays relocated. They're going to be over next to the battery. There's plenty of room there where the battery's not going to hit them. And that is, that'll keep everything centralized. 90% of the wiring will be right here in the front corner of the truck. The only thing that won't be is the little bit that's going to have to go into the cab and the little bit that goes to the motor. But most of the stuff from the motor is going to go directly into the cab and won't even come over to the side where all this other stuff is. So I'm going to have a few signal wires that go to... Actually, I'm not even going to have any signal wires because I've got my keypad that's got that 4-pin plug that plugs in there. So I'm not even going to have that. I'm just going to have that one cable that goes in, and it will run pretty much everything out here. Lights, fans, all that stuff. So I finally got the bulkhead connector that I've been waiting for. It just showed up. I ran to the house and picked it up. And here it is. It's a Deutsch style connector. I'm not going to count right now, but I believe it has 22 options. It's got a nut here. Stick it through a hole in the firewall. Screw the nut up tight on the back. Got the other half that clips onto it. And then I just got to pin all my wires, put them in the connector, and hook everything up. Now, I have to sit down and go, okay, I need wiring for this, I need wiring for this, I need wiring for this, I need wiring for this. This is going to run off of this controller. This is going to run off of, you know, a key switch. This is going to run off of this. This is going to run off of that. So I've got to sit down and do all that, and I don't really have anywhere here at the shop to sit down and do it or anything like that. So I'm going to kind of take down some notes of what I need. I'm going to go call it a day, go to the house, sit down, draw up a wiring diagram for this thing to the best that I can. And then if I got to come back to the shop tomorrow, fine tune it, that's fine. But I'm going to make up a wiring diagram. I'm going to number every pin that goes through that bulkhead connector. and I'm basically going to draw every wire on a piece of paper and where it's going to go. So another thing that changed, I told you I was going to put my connector in here, and that goes inside the HVAC box. But I was gonna, you know, relief cut the HVAC box so the wires could come out of it and go where they needed to go. Well, this will, I'm gonna take the nut off of it real quick. This will kind of sort of fit there, but it's kind of sort of too small. So rather than making a plate up here like a washer to put this in and having to go through the heat box, I already have this block off plate that I made down here to cover up where the wires came through from the computer to go to the motor. And it dumps out underneath the AC box. It's up where it's not going to interfere with anything. You're not going to kick it from the passenger floorboard, anything like that. So I'm going to drill a hole in that and put my pass-through connector there, and then I'll plug the two holes where the AC evaporator was. So yeah, I'm doing a lot of talking, not really getting a lot done, but I'm going to make that diagram like I said, and once I have the diagram I can look at and say, okay, wire 1 is going from point A to point B, wire 2 is going from point A to point B. It's just going to be pulling wires and hooking them up, so that won't be bad. So I'm going to go get started on that, and next time you see me, we should be ready to start hooking stuff up. I know I told you I was going to go home last night and draw up a wiring diagram for this thing and come in and run some wires to finish the video. Well, that didn't get done. I started making my wiring diagram, but I realized that there's going to be a lot more thought and whatnot to get it all drawn out, and it's going to take a little bit of time. And it's not that easy to think about and build a wiring system for a truck on paper when you have a 2-year-old. Just in case you didn't know that. When I'm at home, she wants to spend time with daddy, and it's hard to think and draw and do all that, but I'm not complaining. I love her to death. I just gonna need longer to build the harness. So I did come in today, got a little bit of work done. I started putting my sensors in so that I can wire them. So I got my oil pressure sensor there. I have my temp sending unit for my gauge here. I had a temp sending unit for my electric fan control, and I started screwing it in here, and I didn't think it was tight. Apparently it was too tight. I snapped it off. So I gotta go and get another one of those tomorrow. I mentioned to you guys that inside the lid of this Auxbeam controller, it had spare fuses and a fuse puller, and I never showed you. So there's that. I got my power wire from my circuit breaker run up to the controller, so it's hooked up. I'm gonna put the cover back on that so it doesn't get dirty in there. I got my hole drilled for my pass-through connector, and I got it test fitted in there. I'm gonna have to pull it back out to wire it, but I got it test fitted in there. So that's done. And then I told you guys in the video when I was doing the wiring harness for groundskeeper that I always keep old wiring harnesses around and stuff in case I need parts or need to use it to build a harness or whatever the case may be. So that comes to a situation like this. I stole the pigtail and the power connector for the alternator off of one of the harnesses that I had laying around. And I also have the factory connector for the distributor, which I don't have in here yet because I gotta crank the motor, make sure it's at top dead center, all that before I drop the distributor and put the spark plug wires on. No big deal, totally different topic. So I've got my notes written down. I know everything that I need to wire. I know how I want to wire it. I just need to sit down, make my diagram so that I have something to look at while I'm doing this, because it'll just make it easier on me. So I did make some more progress on Rumrunner this week. I'm back on the 1 to 2 day a week thing with Rumrunner. If it gets closer to the truck gathering and it still has a long way to go, then I'll go full bore on it. But for now, I've got other projects that I'm working on, so I'll do those 3 days a week, Rumrunner 2 days a week, unless the people who the trucks that I'm working on belong to kind of start getting on me wanting their stuff back faster, then I'll go full bore on that, get it done. But as far as cherry pie goes, I've already made pretty good progress on it. The owner's not in a huge hurry for it, and he knows that I work on other projects also while I'm working on his, and he's okay with that. So he wants it done by spring, or next year when the weather gets nice, so he can start driving it again, which shouldn't be a problem at all. Still got the motor here. It's ready to reassemble and paint, which will be happening next. The 67 GMC C10 belongs to the gentleman that owns Groundskeeper. He decided that he wants to keep Groundskeeper because he loves the truck so much. So instead of selling Groundskeeper, he decided he wants to sell this old girl, and therefore I'm not going to do any work to it. He's going to sell it as is. If somebody buys it and wants me to rebuild it or whatever, then I guess I'll still be working on it. But other than that, this one's probably going to go away. So with that going away, that gives me room in the shop to bring the burnout truck in here. And if the burnout truck is inside, that gives me easier and better availability to work on it. So in the next couple days, the 67 GMC is going to go out. We need to take cherry pie outside and thoroughly pressure wash the engine compartment. I'm going to keep working on the wiring harness for Rumrunner, the diagram, get it done, and just like usual, a lot of stuff to do, a lot of videos to make for you guys. Thank you again to Auxbeam for getting this switch panel to me so that I could show you guys what it is, and also so I can use it. So far, I think it's great. I'm steadily learning more and more about it. I gave you guys an overview of it. I got it installed in the truck, showed the ease of installation, and then I will continue and let you guys know how it hooks up and how it works once I get it hooked up. But I'm gonna put the link for the discount with Auxbeam in the description below. I'm sure you guys remember we're getting Rumrunner here ready for the truck gathering truck show in Norman, Oklahoma, April 15th, 2023. If you haven't heard about it, go check it out, www.thetruckgathering.com. I'll put the link for that in the description below. I also have new merch. I got a website. I'll put that in the description below. And there's a whole lot of stuff going on. So that's going to do it for this one. I'm going to keep working on the wiring diagram and get stuff ready to wire this. Today's Friday, so I'm going to do that stuff over the weekend. Monday, I'm going to get back on cherry pie. I'll be filming all that for you guys. If it wasn't for you guys, I wouldn't be able to do this. Y'all have a good one. We'll see you next time.